Welcome to the UGC lecture series. This is the EPG Pathashala on computer science and we are going to talk about machine learning. So, in this module we are going to talk about the basic aspects of linear algebra. Now, these are the people involved in creating this module, and the learning objectives of this module are to understand the basics of linear algebra, to understand the need for linear algebra in machine learning, and to be aware of interesting applications of linear algebra in the context of machine learning. So, we are looking at basics of matrices, vector and the aspects of data representation. Now, you would have thought, what is linear algebra? We have learnt all this in school, like matrices, vectors and so on, but these form the core of a lot of data representations of machine learning. If you remember, when we started off, we had spoken about machine learning and we had spoken about how data has to be represented and how the features have to be represented in order to carry out machine learning. So, this linear algebra would go a long way in doing this data representation. So, what are the basic? We are not going to look at the complete coverage of linear algebra, we are going to look at the basic concepts in linear algebra like vectors and matrices, products and norms, vector spaces and linear transformations. So, we are going to use linear algebra. Why are we learning this? Because linear algebra is used for machine learning, mainly because many features leads to high dimensional spaces, and vectors and matrices, they allow us to compactly describe and manipulate these high dimensional feature spaces, because as you remember, machine learning's basis aspect is the feature space of the input data. So, why vectors and matrices? Most common form of data organization for machine learning is a 2D array. It is a 2D array where rows represent samples, for example, records, items, data points, it could be anything, and columns represents the attributes, which are the features or the variables associated with each of the samples. So, natural to think of each example as a vector of attributes and the whole array as a matrix. So, each sample can be represented as a vector, where each point in the vector represents the feature associated with that particular sample. So, here is an example of a refund, marital status, taxable income and whether they cheat or not. And if you look here, these are the these rows are the vectors corresponding to each sample. So, that is called a vector, and this each of these attributes. So, if you look at this vertical column vector, this column vector represents the attribute refund, this column vector represents the attribute marital status, and the whole thing is represented as a matrix, a 2-dimensional matrix. Now, so why should we talk about linear algebra? For each image example, we extract a set of features. If you are taking image as your example application, you will take length, width, color, which is represented as a feature vector. So, this feature vector is length, width and color. As collected samples will be represented as a collection of feature vectors. So, you have length, width, color of example 1, length, width, color of example 2 and so on. So, linear models, these are linear models and they are simple and computationally tractable to use. So, you all know from school what is a matrix, but we are looking at the matrix from the angle of machine learning representation or data representation. So, matrix is a set of elements organized, as you know, into rows and columns. As already we have spoken about, each of this is a row and each row corresponds to an example, and this is a column and each column represents each of the features. In this example, there are 4 features and 3 examples. You have 4 features and 3 examples. Then as usual, when we talk about linear algebra and we talk about matrix, you have different types of operations that you have to do on a matrix. So, I am not going to go into the details of linear algebra in this particular module, but just to say that these are some of the operations that we would be using later on when we are talking about machine learning. So, you have addition, subtraction and multiplication by a scalar. So, these are 2 matrices, you can add the elements A plus E and B plus F and C plus G and D plus H, simple. Here you the same thing, but you subtract the items, and here you can also do a scalar multiplication, where you can multiply each and every element of the matrix by a scalar variable, by a scalar value alpha. So, multiply each and every entry. This is a simple basic matrix operations. This is an important matrix operation which is called as matrix transpose. I am not going to go into the details of this as I already explained, because you would have already studied this, but what we are trying to do here is to tell you that some of these matrix operations form a core part of the basics of machine learning mathematics. So, n by m matrix A and its m in by n matrix transpose A. So, this is x 1 1 x 1 2, this is a normal matrix, it will become x 1 1 x 1 2 and so on, and it becomes a transpose of that matrix. How to calculate, I am not going to talk about how to do the representation. This is a matrix product which is an important operations of most matrices. In school you would have struggled with this for some time. So, this is a matrix A and this is a matrix B. If you look at this, this has D columns and n rows, while this has d rows and m columns. So, it has to be equal, as you know, the rows of this, the number of columns of this and the number of rows of this. So, you have Cij, Cij is represented as Ai into Bj, where Ai is the each value of this, where Ai is the row I of A and Bj is the column j of B. The number of columns of A should be equal to the number of rows of B, then only you can do a matrix multiplication. Even if it is defined, in general A into B is not equal to B into A in the case of matrix multiplication. Now, let us look at the next topic, which is the rank of a matrix. So, the rank of a matrix is the number of linearly independent rows, or equivalently it could be columns of a matrix. A square matrix is non-singular if the rank is equal to the number of rows, and if its rank is less than the number of rows, it is called as singular. So, here we are doing two things. We are defining what is the rank of a matrix, is the number of linear independent rows, and we are also talking about non-singular matrix and singular matrix. So, this is an example of a identity matrix where all the diagonal elements are equal to 1. This is again we use this identity matrix in a number of cases where we want to do manipulation with matrices, and this is a symmetric matrix because you can see the similarity, I mean symmetry between the elements. So, you have these two rows that are symmetric, these two diagonals are symmetric and these elements are symmetric, while the diagonals itself, the actual diagonals itself contains different, about the diagonal it has to be symmetric. So, that is a symmetric matrix. Next is the important aspect of a matrix is the inverse of a matrix. So, inverse of a square matrix A is matrix A. So, if you just take the inverse of a square matrix, it will be the matrix A itself, and A into A will give you the identity matrix. If A is singular or not square, the inverse does not exist. You have something called a pseudo inverse A is defined whenever A is not singular, that is it is square but not singular, then you have what is called the pseudo inverse. Now, let us look at the vector. Now, up to now we have looked at matrices, we have looked at matrices scalar addition multiplication, we have looked at rank, we have looked at identity, we have looked at multiplication, we have looked at other things associated with the matrix, symmetric and so on. Next we will talk about vector. Vector is a very important concept in machine learning. In fact, one of the major advances in machine learning, which is text mining, uses this vector to represent a document itself. We will come to that, I will explain a little bit of that as we go along. So, vector is an ordered collection of numbers and it is a point in some Euclidean space. For example, here you have x is 1 comma 2 and y is equal to 3 comma 5 or something, and z is equal to 4 comma 1. So, these are some of the, I mean you can have any variable, any values. Now, x is this. So, y minus x you can define, which is 3 minus 1, 3 minus 1 and 5 minus 2, and x minus z is equal to, this is normally how you do vector point arithmetic. So, we are not going to talk too much about that. So, you can think of a vector as a point in space, or it can be a directed line segment with a magnitude and a direction. So, a vector itself sometimes is represented as a point in space, or it can be a directed line segment which has a magnitude as well as direction. So, if you look here, this is a point, this is a point and this is a point, that also is considered as a vector with 0 0 as the origin. So, it is actually between 0 0 and that particular point, or you can talk about a line which between these two points also as a vector. So, vector becomes a very important aspect of representing a lot of data. So, how do we define a vector? Vector definition is that it is an n tuple, usually real numbers. N is the dimension of the vector and n can be any positive number from 1 to infinity, and it can be written either as a column form or a row form. Column is the conventional form of representing a vector, and vector elements are normally represented by a subscript. So, this is x equal to x 1 to x n. If you write this as a row form, then it means it is the transpose of that particular vector. So, again you have, as you had for matrices, you had arithmetic operations. So, you can add two vectors where you just add the corresponding elements, or so the result will again be a vector. Scalar multiplication of a vector, multiply each element by a scalar. So, this is again the result is a vector. Then you have dot product of two vectors, multiply corresponding elements, then add the product. So, A is equal to x comma x into y, I is equal to 1 to n x I y I, and the result will be a value which is a scalar. So, this is and here you have the dot product alternate form where you have x y cos theta. So, x y cos theta, this is again very important, I will come to this as we go along. So, a vector n into 1 you can have, and you have the dot product and magnitude defined on vectors only. So, this is x 1 x 2 v, then you have a b, and this is the vector, and you have a b and a minus b as a vector. This is a plus b, this is a minus b. This is the representation of vector algebra, dot product and magnitude. So, n dimensional row vector can be like this, the transport of the row vector can be as a column vector, and vector product or inner or dot product is normally given as x transport into y, x 1 y 1 plus x 2 y 2 and so on, given like this. Another important aspect of vectors is the Euclidean norm or the length of a vector. So, the length of a vector is given as I is equal to 1 to n x I squared. If x is equal to 1, we say that this particular vector is normalized or is of unit length. Another very important aspect of this is the angle q between two vectors x and y, which is written as cos theta is equal to x transpose y by x y. So, this is again an important aspect of vectors, which as far as machine learning is concerned. So, inner product captures the direction relationship. So, cos theta is equal to 0 that way. This is cos theta equal to 1 and this is cos theta equal to minus 1. If you look at this cos theta equal to 0, which means the two vectors, the angle between the two vectors is equal to 90, which means that these two vectors are not very similar, they go in directions which are opposite to each other. This cos theta equal to 1 means the angle between them is 0, and so this particular two vectors are similar, and so here. So, if you take a linear algebra, x equal to 1 comma 2, y is equal to 3 comma 5 and z is equal to 4 comma 1. The length of a vector in Euclidean space, as we have already seen the formula, is given as I equal to d minus 1 x I squared. Here it is 1 squared into plus 2 squared. So, the length of x is that is square root of 5. So, this is how you find the length of a vector. Vectors x and y are orthonormal if they are orthogonal and x and y equal x is equal to y is equal to 1. So, Euclidean distance, this is another important aspect. Euclidean distance between the two vectors x and y is given by x minus y equal to square root of x I minus y I, the sum of x I minus y I the whole squared, as you can see from the equation. Now, vectors, another aspect of vectors that we do talk about is they are linearly independent or dependent. So, vectors x 1, x 2 to x n are linearly independent if their x is constants alpha 1, alpha 2 to alpha n, such that alpha 1 x 1 is equal to alpha plus alpha 2 x 2 plus alpha 3 and so on, alpha n x n is equal to 0, and alpha is not equal to 0 for at least one I. At least one of these i's you should not have the alpha being equal to 0. If everything all the alphas are 0, then it will obviously be 0, then it is called dependent. If these are linearly independent, then you will have all the alphas right from alpha 1 to alpha n being equal to 0. Now, we will be going back a little bit on some of these aspects just to explain to you the machine learning aspects of that. So, vector spaces and bases, the set of all n dimensional vectors is called a vector space. So, all the vectors occupy one particular space, that space is called as n dimensional vector space, and if it is n dimensional vectors it is called as n dimensional space. The set of vectors u1, u2 to un are called a basis for the vector space if any v vector in capital V, the space can be written as in this form, V is equal to alpha 1 u1 plus alpha 2 u2 plus alpha n un, where these are independent implies they form a basis and vice versa. So, this is an orthonormal basis if this all the ui's together be equal to 1 for all I, this is and alpha is not equal to alpha j. So, another aspect of vector is the vector projection, where orthogonal projection of y onto x can take place in any space of dimensionality which is greater than or equal to 2. So, unit vector in direction of x is given by x divided by the modulo of x. Length of projection of y in the direction of x is given by y into cos theta. So, orthogonal projection of y onto x is the vector projection of x on y, x y cos theta divided by x, and this is the dot alternate form, and this is the projection of y onto x. So, x and y will be in orthonormal basis if this is true, y 0 0 to the transport and x dot y is equal to 0 and all the 3 simultaneously is 0. So, now let us look at how machine learning uses the statistical modeling we are talking about. So, expectation and variance are other important aspects that we are interested in. The expected value of a function is the hypothesis and the variance is the confidence in that hypothesis. So, this is the definition. The expected value of a function is called the hypothesis and the confidence you have in that is given by its variance. So, suppose you have x and y which are two random variables from a sample of n observations. The measure of variability of x and y is called the variance, measure of variability of x and y is called the variance. This is again very important when we are talking about linear regression, linear models of classifications and so on. So, variance and covariance can also be defined by algebra. So, measure of covariance between x and y, how do you find out? So, variance of x plus or minus y is equal to variance of x plus variance of y, and this is given by this, where variance of x is equal to x I minus x the whole square, where this x is the mean of that vector at that particular x, and covariance of x and y is nothing but 1 by n minus 1, I is equal to 1 to n, x I minus x into y I minus y bar, y I minus y bar, where y is the mean. So, variance of a random variable describes how much variability around the expected value there is, calculated as the expected squared error. This is an important equation that we normally use in a lot of models, linear regression models, linear classification models of on any even distribution models when we use probability distribution where we use for machine learning. So, this is the expected value of function of x and this is the value that you get actually, the difference between the two, that is called the mean squared error, and the function of machine learning model is to make this mean squared error the least. Okay. So, the geometry of this is given by this, the independence or dependence between x and y can be represented geometrically. So, this is x the x and y, and this is x and x squared plus y squared plus 2 x y cos of h, if you want to represent it in terms of the angle. So, what is the meaning of this variance and covariance? So, variance is always positive. If covariance is 0, then what it means is x and y are not dependent, they are independent. Covariance is a sum of cross products, so it can be positive or negative. Negative covariance means the deviations in the two distribution are in opposite direction, that is genetic covariations for example. Positive covariance means the deviations in the two distributions are in the same direction. Covariance is the measure of the strength of association between the two variables. So, covariance is in general unit dependent and coefficient of correlation R between x and y is a standardized covariance. So, R is defined as the covariance between x and y square root of variance of x into variance of y, which is nothing but the covariance between x and y and the standard deviation of x into standard deviation of y. Basically what we are trying to do here is the standard deviation, variance, covariance, they give the expected value and the values that surround it or lie close to it. So, covariance of two random variables are can be expressed when how they vary together. It actually tells you how two random variables vary together. So, this covariance of x comma y is given by the expected value of x comma y both together, x minus the expected value of x, y minus the expected value of y, which can be written in this form. So, if two variables are independent, their covariance will obviously be 0, they are no longer connected to each other. So, what we have done up to this point is we have looked at linear algebra and machine learning. So, machine learning is an effective way when trained with large data sets ranging from hundreds to millions of data. So, this linear algebra works as a computation engine in machine learning and represents data in the form of linear equations. These linear equations are in turn represented as matrices and vectors, and machine learning needs data in an efficient way to process it, and so it looks at representing data in the form of matrices and vectors. For you to understand this is a little better, let us take a small example. Let us assume that I have documents and I want to represent these documents as a vector. So, what a very simple way of doing this is you just take the vector, I mean the document would contain words and there will be a stop words like the, of and so on, those are removed, normally this is the normal process, and then you take the frequency of occurrence of the other words. Okay. And this frequency of occurrence of the unique words in a document will be represented as numerical values, that the frequency of occurrence of the first word, second word and so on, represented as a numerical values along a column vector or row vector, whichever vector. So, along a vector. So, it is a one dimensional vector, I mean it is a vector with n variables, okay, if it had n words. Now, the problem is you take the first document. Now, if you take the second document may not have the same words as the first document. So, the number of the dimension of this the words in this frequency occurrence will be different. So, how you represent? You have to take the whole document corpus and all the unique words of those document corpus together. Suppose you have 1000 documents and you have 5000 words which are uniquely represented, or after removing the stop words, then 5000 dimensional vector, okay, will be 5000 dimensions, that is 5000 points along a single dimensional vector would be the size of your document vector. So, some documents there will not be words, so those will be represented as 0. So, this will be a vector. Now, what you have to do is, if you want to find the similarity between two documents, you have to take these two vectors. Once you convert it into vectors, so you are not bothered about the words or anything, it is just two vectors. So, you find out the angle between the two vectors. So, if the angle is equal to 90, that is cos theta is equal to what we saw, then it means that the two documents are not very similar. If they are if the angle between them is 0, it means the two documents are very similar. This is very important application of this linear algebra in areas that we have seen, which is text mining for text document, text similarity, and this vector model of it is called the TF-IDF model, that is a term frequency versus inverse document frequency. I am not going into those details, but the representation is vector, and this particular representation is called as vector space model of the documents, and it still continues to be the basis of a number of applications. So, that is as far as the vector is concerned. Now, if you look at the other important application which we saw of algebra is the variance and covariance aspects, which is very important when we are trying to find a hypothesis. So, how the expected value varies from the hypothesis is found out, and the covariance between two variables is found out, and this is used for modeling the data. So, this becomes important. So, let us look at another usage of matrices. So, single value decomposition factorizes real or complex matrix. This is used in applications such as image compression, web searching, etc. Another usage of matrix manipulation is in the dimensionality reduction problem. Now, what is this dimensionality reduction problem? As we already discussed, you take all the features and represent the complete samples using a big big matrix. So, the matrix will have features along the, I mean, each row will correspond to one sample. You may have 10,000 samples, and each row column will correspond to an attribute. You may have about 100 attributes. So, what you are talking about is a 100 into 10,000 size matrix. Now, the idea is you must do a dimensionality reduction. Why should you do? What is the meaning of dimensionality reduction? You should reduce the size of your matrix. Now, if all the features of all the examples would contribute to whatever application you are going to have, like classification or clustering, then I will not do dimensionality reduction. But my job is to reduce the dimensionality such that I do not lose that important features that are associated with the data, but still I must be able to compress it. For this we use lot of mathematical techniques, one of which is called singular value decomposition. The other one is principal component analysis called PCA, which uses an orthogonal transformation, which you have already seen, to convert correlated variables into a set of values of linearly uncorrelated variables, and it is called as linear principal components. We will be going into detail about dimensionality reduction in later modules. So, the number of principal components is less than or equal to the number of the original variables. So, if you have number of original variables, this is going to be less. So, that accounts for the dimensionality reduction. So, some of the applications of linear algebra in general is for operation on or between vectors and matrices, for coordinate transformation, from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. We have not gone into detail about that. Dimensionality reduction, which I just touched upon. Linear regression again, which I touched upon, where we use the least mean squared error, try to reduce a mean squared error through covariance and so on, and also a solution of linear systems of equations. So, some of the applications of this linear algebra, actually linear algebra will be used in many applications, but some of it is graphical transformations, which graph is represented as a matrix. Very natural representation of a graph is a matrix, where the node represents the edge is represented by entry in the matrix, node and edge, and then object face morphing, again representation, object detection and tracking, audio and image compression, edge detection, signal processing, and many other applications. So, in this module, what we have discussed is some basic concepts of linear algebra, though we did not go into actual multiplication, actual division, which I have left to you. As you know, you have done the basics, or you can brush them up pertaining to machine learning. Basically, only those concepts of linear algebra which we feel pertains to machine learning, that alone we have touched upon, and we have explained how linear algebra plays a very important role in machine learning, in actually a computational effort required for machine learning is possible because of this use of vectors, matrices and variances and so on. And we listed some interesting applications of linear algebra in the area of machine learning. So, basically we looked at vector, matrice, covariance, variance, principal component analysis, orthogonal projection and so on as important applications of linear algebra to machine learning. So, thank you.